Hey everybody. Today's story is about how I found a hole in my white male cisgendered heteronormative wakes up with bedhead that Kazoom is jealous of privilege. And I normally feel like I live a pretty privileged life, and most of that is because I protect that privileged life. I know a couple of guys that have everything else that I have going for me, except for they maybe have a felony or something where they've ruined their privilege. And I feel like one of my best resume bullet points should be has not fucked up yet, you know? Because you can lose privilege in various different ways, but I haven't. I feel like I've had a really good streak of a privileged life, right? Partly due to hard work and not having very long gaps of unemployment and not getting a felony and stuff like that, but also part to do with all those things that I just mentioned before that, right? But I found a hole in the things that I didn't work for that were just given to me. I found a hole in my privilege, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. This happened about 12 hours ago, and to set the stage here, Misty and I were cleaning the house because my brother was going to stop by, and then we were going to, as a family unit, go to Central City, which is a old gambling town here in Colorado. It's a bit west of Denver, and there was a casino in the Central City part, not in the Blackhawk part, like an old casino that was hosting a creepy crawl, right? And so we were going to walk around and see ghost stories, and it was actually a very fun event. But earlier in the day, around 1 o'clock, we were in the house, and I didn't want Misty to vacuum very much because the dog dander that the vacuum kicks up really messes with my allergies, and also it can smell because we have dogs, right? So she went around opening up windows in order to mitigate what happens when you vacuum certain things. And so she goes into the bedroom where she put in some blackout curtains for me over the window that she was opening. She was opening the window, and the second set of curtains that normally just deadens all the light, the curtain rod popped out, fell down, and sliced her lip. Like, it was very quick. I was in the room when it happened, and I was on the other side of the bed, and I was like, what happened there? And she just runs to the bathroom, and so I followed her, and she's like, "Do you see what happened?" And at first, I thought that it hit her cheek, right? But I was like, "Oh, it looks okay." And then I see the blood just start running from her lip, right? And so I can't do the visual justice without. I'll just share a blow up of the picture that she posted to Facebook. There's her lips, and there is the cut that happened, right? And there's her saying, stupid IKEA curtain rod, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So, immediately I was like, let's go to the hospital. Let's go. Drop everything. You got a cut on your lip. Let's go. You know. And normally, she might have tried to handle it herself at home. Uh, if our dogs had anything like a cut on their nose in the same place, immediately we'd be over to the dog hospital. But for her, she doesn't treat herself as well. But I was like, nope, let's go to the hospital. It might be so deep that you actually need to get a stitch or two. And on the way to the hospital, I was joking because after like 5 minutes of driving because we were going to the hospital that takes her insurance. Kaiser, by the way, because Kaiser is like when your boss wants to go cheap on insurance, they go Kaiser. Okay, and Kaiser isn't accepted at many of the hospitals around us, so we're driving to the hospital that accepts Kaiser, and I'm driving around like traffic jams that I'm seeing, in our way. And I joked like, I can see Jeff, my brother, later on, joking, man, you really popped her in the lip and you didn't even give her a warning. I mean, where's her black eye first? I could see him making a joke like that, right? So, she's laughing too, and like, yep, they're probably going to at the hospital think that maybe this is a domestic violence thing that happened, right? Because of where the cut is, it's on her face, and there are certain patterns that her and I would look for. Both of us working in human services and seeing a lot of clients, and in fact, the last client that I saw that had a broken wrist right here, I joked with that client in order to try to get her to open up. I was like, so you're sure that happened in a car accident? It didn't happen, from your boyfriend. We don't need to put the lien on him, do we? You know? And yeah, it's a thing where you have to investigate when somebody has those patterns of domestic violence injuries. You have to ask. So we get to the hospital, and for the first part of, like, I walked in with her. For the first part of everything, I didn't see much of people second guessing what she was saying, that it was an IKEA curtain rod that fell down and hit her in the face. But Misty said that when she went back, and I went and sat in the waiting area, and she was seen by the first male nurse that was there, that he looked over at me a couple of times, like out in the waiting room, like he was looking over there. And she said it was, she could tell what was going on in his head, And she when she got a room in the emergency urgent care area, and she said, "You want to come back here?" And I was like, "Okay." I go back there, and we're waiting forever. Like when I say forever, it's like 30 minutes for someone to see us and actually like not have anything to do with billing and questions about demographics. Finally, a physician's assistant comes in, and she looks at me and says, "And who is this?" That was like the third question she asked. It was like, "Oh, you got your lip out. And who is this?" And yeah, Missy's like, "Yeah, that's my boyfriend." And it just happened to be that the wound itself makes people think domestic violence. Got popped in the lip. Bam. It has to be that. And yeah, like it made me think about like women who will say things like, "I ran into a door," or "I fell down the stairs myself," and stuff like that. And how it's become such a cliche that I actually kind of had this, really underneath it all, this dread of, man, do I really want to be around in the hospital? There doesn't need to be a boyfriend around when someone goes to the hospital for that sort of an injury. I like to support Misty. I was the one who said we need to go to the hospital now, and it was $150 copay for what ended up being the physician's assistant took 4 syringes of saline solution, popped the cap on them, and irrigated her lip with special saline solution, and then afterwards she applied super glue to the lip, because stitches were not in order because it wasn't that deep, and also it would be just adding more holes to her lip. And that didn't just cost $150. That was $150 copay with insurance at the right hospital. And even then, I never once batted an eye about, like, well, yeah, we still need to get this checked out, because it could be something that's deeper and could, mess up your lip, and you don't want that, you don't want to have like a mark for the rest of your life that you don't have to have, you know. Anyways, yeah, it was a moment where I didn't feel like I had any male privilege in that situation. I really felt like the default in that situation is to suspect men of abusing their girlfriends. And then afterwards, we went to Central City, and on the way in the truck, my brother quipped that I was supposed to make sure that the stick that I beat my girlfriend with is no wider than my thumb. So, yes, he did make jokes. Because, the setup for the jokes is the world that we live in. That domestic violence is so prevalent, and it is so known to be prevalent, and it has come to the forefront of our culture that, yeah, the jokes, the truth behind the jokes that makes them funny, uh, it's already there. The jokes write themselves, basically. Um, so yeah, that's my story. I had one little part of my day where I did not feel privileged.